Recently, people have approached me on the street saying,
"Hey, you're that cellar troll that talks about video games on the internet."
Now, after a quick crying session, I can confirm that I am indeed said cellar troll. The first question I get asked is, why are you so unpatriotic? You only ever talk about games from Japanese developers. What are you, not an eagle-blooded true blue American? To which I reply, no, I'm Irish. Though I do tend to lean more to Japanese games, Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid 5, Persona 5, and more recently Nier. So let's fix that by talking about the most American game I can think of that isn't potentially a recruitment tool for the US military. This wasn't really your best idea, was it, guys? No, we're talking about Doom. Now, Doom is a very important game for the first-person genre. Yes, Wolfenstein did a lot of what Doom was famous for first, but let's face it, you know you're the more successful of the two when you have a whole genre named after you. I mean, that's what we called FPS games in the 90s, Doom clones. Like, could you imagine being so successful that a whole genre is named after you? Why, hello, Dark Souls. Of course you know all about that, don't you? Oh, yeah, good boy. Oh, yeah, good boy. Now go on and run back to my Dark Souls video, you scamp. Where was I? Doom! Now, Doom and the Soul games share more in common than just having a whole genre named after them. They also share an art inspiration. Dungeons and Dragons! Except, you know, Doom's use was legally actionable. I mean, just look at the Cacao Demon and the Beholder from Dungeons and Dragons. Even Phoenix Wright would have a hard time defending that in court. Regardless of the legality, Doom was unbelievably successful with the demonic aesthetic and the frantic gameplay. It was then followed by a sequel that's arguably even better, and the original game was ported to everything. And I mean everything. It was on the SNES. The SNES! So what does id do for their hat trick? How does one create another entry in their stellar series? Well, for id Software, it was a simple two-step process. Step 1, wait 10 years between releases. Step 2, make a poor man's Resident Evil that just splits the fandom in half? Yeah, so in between porting Doom to the Atari Jaguar among other things, there wasn't really a lot of time for id Software to focus on making a new game. Couple that with the massive influx of FPS games in the mid-2000s, and now one had to ask if we needed Doom anymore. Hell, Halo had aped enough of Doom's style to be considered enough of a replacement that now Doom needed a hook. If you watch my video on Crash 4, I go into this a little bit more. That kind of rhymed, that was an accident. But the thing about this generation of like that one game but with this design is some of these massive gameplay changes worked and most of them just didn't. Regardless of how you feel about Doom 3, there's no denying that it isn't nearly as well received as the previous games. So Doom was dead and gone. Forever. Until 2016, because there are no more original ideas in game design. Doom 2016 is a game so good, it makes my trousers tighter in the good way.
Oh my god, even his shadow! Look at his shadow!
But why does Doom 2016 soar so much higher than Doom 3? Well, I think the main issue 3 has is a misunderstanding of the previous games, or a desire to just not be them. The Resident Evil comparison wasn't just a random example. I actually am capable of coherent thought in my writing, so fuck you, English teacher from when I was 16.
Son of a... You done messed up!
It's the relationship between the player and the enemies that's slightly thrown off in Doom 3, which causes the feeling of being such a major departure for the series. Doom 3, much like Resi, has all the enemies framed as these dangerous, malevolent creatures where even one of them can be deadly. Now, it's not that Doom is easy or the enemies are a pushover, but the game makes you feel like you're the apex predator when played correctly, and Doom 2016 captures that perfectly. The gunplay mixed with the gloried kills and chainsaw attacks makes you feel like John Wick would be afraid of you. Now, this isn't the only thing Doom 2016 revives from Doom 1 and 2. It also adopts its design mantra in terms of weapon attitudes. Now, I'm not just referring to the fact that they use the same weapons, but rather it's how they treat each of these instruments of death. In a recent interview with The Guardian, Doom co-creator John Romero explained, "For Doom, it was really important that every time you got a new weapon, it never made any previous weapon useless." Now, that's not to say all guns in Doom 2016 are the same. I mean, if they were, you might as well give Doom Guy one gun that he just needs to point at bad guys and make pew pew sounds. Good job, Isaac, you're doing great. Rather, it's that no gun clearly outclasses any others in every aspect. For instance, take the first gun in the game, the pistol. It has a slow fire rate, low damage, and takes a hot minute to load up a power shot. Now you would think that as soon as you get the combat shotgun, you ditch the pistol. The rub is, the combat shotgun, while powerful, has low range, so the pistol gives you a chance to soften enemies up from a distance and finish them with a melee attack or shotgun blast if they're a bruiser. Okay, but when you get the assault rifle, there's no reason to use the pistol anymore. Wrong again. The pistol is the only weapon in the game with unlimited ammo, so on the off chance you run out of ammo, you still have a gun instead of having to do something like this.
Okay, but on my way, I'm gonna be doing this. If you get hit, it's your own fault.
Even weapons that seem redundant against others follow this design mantra. For example, the combat shotgun and the super shotgun. In a game about creating versatility and dynamics, why would you have two guns that are exactly the same? Well, here's the thing, they're not exactly the same. The combat shotgun is more of a pump action 12 gauge. It fires and reloads much faster than a regular shotgun, but the super shotgun is a double barrel shotgun, plain and simple. Yet every time I use it, I find myself asking a single question.
Can it be fired with an erection?
Oh, for Archers?
But what's the major difference between the two weapons? The super shotgun does way more damage than the combat shotgun, but has a smaller clip size and has to reload between each shot. The combat shotgun also has access to one thing that stops it from being useless and shows that Doom isn't afraid to add new things to the recipe: weapon mods. Every weapon in the game, barring these three, has access to 2 mods. The combat shotgun's first mod charges up 3 shots, then unloads them all like an automatic weapon, and yes, it's as satisfying as it sounds. The second mod fires this orb which will remind the demons they're late for an important lunch and forces them to leave the arena so as to not disappoint their girlfriend. Nah, I'm fucking with you, it makes them go kablam! The interesting thing about these mods is that you could class them into assault types or support types. Let's take the chain gun for example. Its support mod allows you to prepare the gun to fire more easily as a support function. Its alt mode may slow down your walking pace, but it gives you access to 2 extra cannons, further promoting a more damage oriented style of play. The assault rifle gains a scope for sniping and improved long range combat for its support, but a missile barrage for its assault mod. Now the coolest thing about the mods is if you have both for a weapon, you can swap them out on the fly, meaning you can use whichever one the situation suits, rather than being locked into one particular playstyle with the weapon. But that wasn't all Doom 2016 added to modernize the formula, it also added jumping. Despite Doom 1 and 2 being lauded as 3D games, that seems a little misleading, but there's no denying that the maps of Doom 1 and 2 had a verticality that was just unprecedented at the time. The only issue was that Doom Guy was a white man and as such couldn't jump. Luckily, there was an amendment to the Geneva Convention in 1997 that allowed white men to jump, hence why Gordon Freeman could do it in Half-Life. But Doom didn't get to benefit from this until 2016. Now, it's not that Doom was markedly worse without jumping, but playing Doom 2016, one starts to wonder how the previous entries ever lived without it. The areas you fight in are much like the original games, tight corridors or more open areas. The difference? The more open areas regularly feature vantage points and an almost obstacle course design. This serves 2 functions. The first is creating a frantic gameplay experience where both you and your opponents are forced to make use of the increased movement of Doom 2016. And the second is to provide ample space to hide all ammo drops, health potions and armor pieces, while also giving you a chance to duck behind cover or attack enemies from above. Now, one issue Doom had is that a lot of times when you came to a new area, you were immediately bombarded with enemies.
Surprise, motherfucker!
You didn't have a chance to take in the arena. Doom 2016 addresses this. It often gives the player a chance to survey the area from a safe distance in order to note any enemy placements and the elevated platforms they can use to their advantage. It all just creates the same sense as the original Doom, that when played well, you're the most dangerous thing in any of these rooms. The only demons that have a chance one-on-one are the bosses, but there's something a little lackluster about Doom 2016's bosses. I just think their bullet sponge nature just gets rid of any sense of catharsis found in the regular enemy encounters. It's not that either is easier, but I breathe a sigh of relief when I finish the arena fights, and a sigh of frustration in the boss battles. But why should you listen to me, or even John Romero? I mean, he made Daikatana, one of the worst games ever made.
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! Look at it!
Well, because he's right. I want to read you one final Romero quote from the same article. I would rather have fewer things with more meaning than a million things you don't identify with. Which brings me to Doom's 2016 sequel, Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal just kinda adds more stuff. a dash ability, a flamethrower, frag grenades, and a one-hit kill weapon. But it's just more stuff, and it doesn't really need to be there. In fact, it creates issues to justify these additions. Like for instance, the one-hit kill weapon, the Crucible. Doom Eternal has 2 one-hit kill weapons, the BFG and the Crucible. Doom 2016 has 2 one-hit kill weapons, the Chainsaw and the BFG. The Chainsaw can one-hit kill most enemies at the cost of more fuel for the beefier enemies, creating this risk-reward situation where you could kill one tough enemy for all your fuel, or several weaker ones and gain more ammo and resources. But Doom Eternal just nerfs the Chainsaw, because it has a lightsaber now, I guess. There's also arguably less disincentive to use the Crucible as sparingly as the Chainsaw, as it only takes 1 of its own ammo to kill anything that isn't a boss. The Chainsaw would also cause enemies to drop armor on top of ammo and health. In Eternal, it just doesn't, for reasons. Now, the Flame Belch does cause enemies to drop armor, but it doesn't do any notable damage, and it's on a cooldown that can be hard to keep track of during the game's more frenetic moments. Dashing 2 is just to justify the sometimes needlessly expansive levels, and do we really need 2 types of frag grenades when the combat shotgun mod serves the same purpose? Well yeah, because now the Cacao Demons are weak to missiles and grenades. Okay, but they weren't before. But worst of all, why does Doom Eternal think I care about the story? When I got here in Doom 2016,
energy you've just taken into your system. It seems to agree with you.
I didn't think, oh yeah, more please. I thought, why can't I go back to Demon Slaying like my name is Tanjiro Kamado? Great show, you should all watch Demon Slayer, it's amazing. Please don't think Doom Eternal is a bad game. It really isn't. But when compared to its predecessor, I think its major failing is just overstuffing it with too many mechanics. And because of Doom's fast-paced gameplay and twitch-based shooting, these new mechanics can just get lost in the noise. Put it simply, Doom 2016 just did more with less, and Doom Eternal does less with more. But what do you guys think? Am I way off base with my thoughts on Doom? Is Doom Eternal actually the better game? Let me know down below in the comments, give this video a like or dislike depending on your horoscope reading, and share the video with your friends. If you didn't like the video, share it with your friends you don't like as a passive-aggressive jab. You know the ones. Thanks for watching, guys.